What's up, everybody? It's Soren Baker here on the Soren Baker Show. Thank you for joining us and listening wherever you happen to be around the world. We appreciate your support. And for those that know, I'm obviously a huge rap fan, and a lot of people know me and recognize me and remember me for doing a lot of the interviews with a lot of icons and classic artists, even though I love a lot of the artists that are coming out today. And that's something that I always try to do with my interviews, is cover all rap. And one of the reasons why I brought in our guest today was because a lot of people always are asking me, like, Soren, don't you think the music is whack now, or don't you think everything is boring now? And I don't agree with that. And I still listen to all rap from the 70s up until today. And during my discovery process, you know, I'd found our guest for tonight. His name is Nana. He's from Los Angeles. And, you know, I was just listening to music and new music, as I always do, as I go back and forth through the different things that I have to do for work, and then listening to new music just because I love it. And I had just happened across his Nana's EP, which came out in March of 2018. And I was like, man, this is really good, but I don't know who this dude is. So I just sent out a tweet, just said, hey, this is one of my favorite underground or underappreciated, overlooked projects from 2018. And I couldn't find his Twitter at the time, but I tagged who I could find that was affiliated with the project, and then they hit me back. And so that brings us to meeting Nana. So Nana, thank you for coming through to the Soren Baker Show.
What's up, man? The legendary Soren Baker. Thank you for having me, man.
Nah, it's great, man. And, you know, I've really been impressed with the Nana's EP. And then, of course, in 2019, you recently put out the Save Yourself project as well. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be talking about all of that here today on the Soren Baker Show. And since a lot of people probably aren't familiar with you, and I hope that they do get a chance and get a sense, rather than wait till the end, let's give everybody how to find you now, so that if they want to take a quick minute to look for your music and listen to some of the stuff we're about to be discussing, they can do that, or at least save it so they don't forget to do it later. So how do people find you on social media and such?
I like that. Dive right into it. So they can find me on Instagram at Nana is King. That's NANAISKING. Same for the SoundCloud. Same for the Twitter, but with an underscore. You could find me on YouTube, Nana Music 33. Same for Facebook, Nana Music 33. And on all social media platforms, on all streaming platforms, just search Nana, and the latest title for the project is Save Yourself. So Nana Save Yourself, and or Nana's EP under Nana, and you'll be able to find me.
Perfect. Yeah, because we're going to get into the Nana's EP right now to start things off and kind of go chronologically. And as we get into that a little bit, I wanted to explain a little bit. Are you born and raised in the Crenshaw district?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm Los Angeles, born and bred, homegrown. You know, Crenshaw district. I spent my whole life over there. Went to every school over there. Went to Audubon Middle School. Went to D.O.C High School, right there in the heart of South Los Angeles, right there in South Central Crenshaw district. My parents are first generation. Well, they came. It's crazy because my parents met in London.
Okay.
But they're originally from Ghana.
Right.
But they met in London. My older two siblings were born in London, and then my parents came here, and then had my older brother, me, and then my younger sister. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So, what has the experience been like for you being a first generation American?
It's been an interesting experience, to be honest with you, because I didn't completely, growing up in a cultured household, you get that side of the spectrum, but being born and raised here and going to school here, and kind of just being like, I guess someone in Ghana would be, they would call it being Americanized. Right, that's what they call it. But getting that aspect of it as well, it's very interesting because you're kind of like caught in the middle of two different worlds, like when you're going to school and then when you come home.
Right.
You know?
And then what about the reality of the Americanization, but then also dealing with the kids you grew up with, who I would imagine most of them were probably from Los Angeles or at least the United States.
Yeah.
Then you have that sort of type of thing they have to deal with.
Yeah. They didn't, and it's crazy because a lot of them, like, they would come, like, I was very subconscious about my name at first because a lot of kids would tease me for it. You know, a lot of kids would pick on me for it. And, you know, they would make me insecure based off of their insecurities. Whatever they were insecure about, you know, they would project that up upon me. And me being young at the time and naive.
Well, do you want to say your full name or what?
So my full name is Nana, last name Opong. So it means, Nana means king. Mm-hmm. Opong, my last name, means prosperity. So when you put it together, it's prosperous king. So, yeah, with them like teasing me and stuff about my name, I was just like, dang, how come my mom couldn't name me like John or, you know, like Sean or, you know, Chris or, you know, a regular basic name. And that's the thing too. Like my siblings, they, for the most part, have like very standard, you know, American names. Like, you know.
So what was the reason your parents did that? I'm
not sure. Maybe I was the chosen one. Shoot, they were like, yo, we're going to name you something different. But my sister, she's named after my grandmother. She has a very similar name to me. That also is derived from Ghanaian culture. Her name is Narki. So, yeah, me and her, we kind of had like, you know, kind of the similar experience, just, you know, with the names and stuff like that. But, yeah, they didn't understand it. So, growing up, you get people teasing you for it. You know, you get all types of, you know, just ignorant comments like, oh, yeah, you come from Africa, you this, you that. But I was born and raised here. But, you know, I do identify. I'm and that's the thing, too. I'm blessed to be able to know where I come from. And at that age, you know, I was insecure about it and I didn't know. That's why, you know, I fully embraced my name.
Yeah, because as you're aware, and unfortunately a lot of people, especially black people in America, of course, don't have that benefit. Mm-hmm. So how did that kind of, as you did understand that and understood the significance of that growing up, did that give you more pride? Did it give you more, like, how did that affect you compared to, you think, not having it like a lot of your friends, I would imagine? It
did. Especially as an adult, you know, because even when I began doing music, I used to go by Blason Maven, right? You know, and you know, for those that don't know, I went by Blason Maven, and I changed my name to Nana, and that was me embracing my what I was always insecure about, you know, because I'm like, how do I expect other people to get to know me if I don't really, truly know myself, and if I'm not comfortable with myself, and, you know, taking on my first name, which is, you know, my God-given name, I'm like, why not? You know, why not show people that it's okay to be yourself, especially if what it is that you're doing, you know, has meaning behind it, you know, and my name meaning what it means. I'm like, why would I not take that on? So I definitely wear that as a sense of pride. And, you know, I'm grateful, you know, to know where I come from and to know what my name means and to have a unique name such as the one that I have.
Gotcha. And then on the Nana's EP, one of the things that appealed to me about it, before we get to the individual songs, was that you have, in my opinion, a interesting mixture of like street stuff, religious stuff, insecurity or self-doubt, and relationships, but you do it in a way, in my opinion, that doesn't come off soft or corny or whatever.
Right.
So how did you decide to take that approach, given that a lot of those things in the rap world especially, they have a hard time getting like respected.
Yeah.
But when they do, then they could really blow up. So what made you be like, man, you know, I should approach and explore all these types of things?
It was just me giving my experience. Like, and my experience is no different from your experience of cameraman's experience or somebody walking on the streets experience, and that's a human experience.
Right.
You know, so it was just more so me giving, like, really tapping into, like I said, who I am and the stuff that I've been through, and, you know, some of the stuff that I've seen from a firsthand to, second person's perspective, you know, looking on the outside looking in, you know, giving somebody else's situation and things of that nature. So I was just like, you know, I want to be able to give people every piece of me, like from, you know, my vulnerable side, you know, to my fun side, to my serious side, you know, to the side of me that, you know, I may not have expressed just to people in general, because I have a hard time, like, explaining myself to people, and I think I best tap into my expression through music.
So why do you think you have a hard time explaining yourself?
I don't know. I've always been like a shy person. You know, I've always been kind of like I wouldn't say standoffish because of my shyness, but more so I've always just been a shy person, but I've always been able to best explain myself through music and explain myself in a unique way through music, like rather than say something like straight on. And I pride myself on not really being too abstract and going over people's heads, but not being too direct. So finding that middle, you know, that middle ground, you know, and being able to express myself in a unique way to where somebody would, you know, sit and think on it like, oh, okay, wow, you know, I could relate to that in the way that he kind of explained it or expressed it.
Yeah, and then on tied into that, I think is interesting with the Nana's EP is that other than the first track with Thirds Problems, you don't have any guests, especially rap guests or guest vocalists.
Yeah.
Which, as you're well aware now, so many songs that come out today it's a collaborative thing. It's more than one person on the song. So how and why did it end up happening that way for both your projects, the Nana's EP and Save Yourself? Why not really have any guests?
That's a good question. You know, I just want to give, especially this early on, give people as much as me as possible, you know, and really show my versatility, you know, because a lot of those songs I could have easily gotten features for, especially the ones where I'm like more so using, you know, my voice and, you know, harmonizing and singing and stuff like that. And that was another insecurity of mine, because before I just used to rap. And I'm like, okay, let me use my voice as an instrument and let me take on the responsibility of, you know, singing and using my voice in a much lighter tone and, you know, trying different things out, you know, and I'm like, okay, why not? Because like I was always like, I'm not a good singer. I can't do that. You know, I'm gonna just rap. That was my comfort zone. And I had to get out of my comfort zone and to really just stretch out just me where, like, from being one dimensional.
Okay.
You know, because I feel like people are just like in a safe box of just like you're either like just rapping or like kind of like I guess the cliche term for it is like mumble rapping and like, you know, just kind of being the vibe on the beat. But I like to like really pride myself on being an artist and a musician and like taking on that and it's crazy because it wasn't even a thing to where I like thought it out like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna have no features or anything like that, but I found myself doing most of the work and trying out these different things, and I'm like, okay, I think this is something that that's gonna work. And
so then why did you collaborate? How and why did you collaborate with Thurs? And then on the sequencing part of it, since that was on Nana's EP going to be the only guest, why put that as the first song?
Because I was like, straight out the gate, this is hard, and I also wanted to give people a side of Thurs that they never seen. Like Thurs is very, you know, he's very groovy. That was a very aggressive track.
Very.
And Thurs is from Inglewood. Inglewood is an aggressive area.
Right.
You know, especially, you know, and that's the thing. Thurs, me and Thurs, I was a fan of Thurs before I even met him.
Okay.
You know, like I was a fan of the U.N.I. stuff, and you know their stuff isn't directly a reflection of what Problems is. So I was like,
Right.
and that's what Thurs is. You know, that's his sound. You know, and he's a branch of the U.N.I. sound, and you know the grooviness. And I was like, let me give people a side of Thurs that they probably have never heard that I know he could pull off. You know, so that was where that decision came from, and I was like, yo, this track is so hard. This I have to slap people in the face straight out the gate. So this is gonna be track number 1.
Well, one of my favorite tracks is the second one, which is Question Everything.
Yeah.
I really like the beat, which kind of probably would remind people that are familiar with the Raekwon Ice Cream beat. It's similar to that,
Yeah.
but different enough to where it doesn't sound like an instrumental or anything.
Right.
But on that track, I really liked how you pose all these questions, but they're not just about society or about yourself. It's a wide range of things.
Right.
And we've seen, similar types of songs before, but I thought yours coming out now was powerful and interesting. So what power or strength do you think that song, provides or gives to people?
Vulnerability.
Okay.
Because I always was, I'm so, and everybody's self-conscious about things within themselves, but a lot of people are scared to say it because they feel like it's gonna make them look weak or look like less than. But at the end of the day, we all the same. We all people.
And one thing that you do that's interesting, and you do this on a lot of your material, is talking about comparing ourselves to others and like, why do we do that?
Right.
Because the only person we're only with 100% of the time is ourselves, and we can't change that.
Period. Yeah.
So I always find it's interesting, and I tell this to my daughter all the time, like, you can't compare yourself really to anyone because you're living your life.
Yeah.
And no matter what they want or what you want, you can never live their life and vice versa.
Right.
So for you, why do you feel that there's such an importance in our society to always compare ourselves to others? Why do you think that is?
I'm not, it's crazy because I think Instagram has a major part to do with that. Before, back in the early 2000s, 90s, whatever the case, before social media,
Right.
You couldn't see what your favorite artist was doing or what the next person was
Right.
doing. You had to write them fan mail. You couldn't just hit them up in the DMs or whatnot. But now it's like right in front of your face, and it gives you the feeling of wanting something now and like comparing your life and like, dang, they're doing this. And even the people that are like that directly, you're like, dang, these are the lives that they're living. How come I'm not there? How come I'm not doing this? Or how come my life isn't this great? But it's crazy because some of these people are probably living a lot worse than you.
Right.
Social media is just like, it's like the Matrix. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what's real. And it's a game of perception. You really don't know what's real.
Right.
Like I was just talking to a friend of mine earlier. He was talking about how he went out on a date. He was going out on a date with this girl, and he was like, "Oh yeah, she drives a Maserati, blah 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 blah." He went out with her, and he was like, "Yo, she don't even got a car." And she was flexing her. Somebody, I don't know whose Maserati it was, but she was on social media with it. I told him before he even told me she didn't have a car. I was like, chances are it's not hers. I know how social media works. I know how people can't be on social media, but
Right.
I just learned that everybody's path is different. How your plan to get somewhere is totally different from the next man's plan to get somewhere, and be solid in your journey and knowing that you on your path, and be comfortable with the path that you on. And that's the thing. I used to be like that too, and you don't know what that person had to do to get to where they had to get to.
Right.
And they don't know what you had to get through to get to where you getting to. So.
And I think, speaking of the girls, another song that's really good on Nana's EP was the Euphoria, which you have as an interlude, but still is, it's I think like 2.5 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
But with that one, I like the fact that how you explained the relationship with the girl, because it wasn't that, it was a real relationship. And I think a lot of times as rap has evolved, you know, people say, oh, I make songs for girls or I make love songs, but they're not love songs. They're very surface level of, oh, I'll buy you A, B, and C, and then you got to serve me, basically.
Yeah.
Whereas your song, I think, is a much more rounded about the person and about the actual relationship and standing up for each other and having each other's backs and all that type of thing. So why did you want to take that type of approach to a song about a woman?
Because I feel like this is a real approach. Like, when we are interested in women, you know, we're generally, like, we're genuinely, like, interested in every part of the woman. Like, when you're really into a woman, you know, you love everything about that woman. And that was me really, like, diving into that, like, as a man, like, really diving into that. And that's like the honeymoon phase, you know.
Right.
That's like the best way for me to explain the honeymoon phase was in Euphoria, like how we're like so, and we could be extremely head over heels over women, you know, and that was me not only doing that, but also on the other aspect of it, really bigging up women and, you know, letting women know how important they are and like how, you know, just in this day and age of like just, you know, content of calling women this, that, third, you know, just reminding them how important they are, you know, because without women, it's like shit.
Well, I think that's one of the things that also drew me to both Nana's EP and To Save Yourself is how you approach your relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, what we want to get to with the Him and Her track is, and there's a companion piece, I think, a little bit on Save Yourself. But with Him and Her, I was also interested because you, rather than get a woman or trying to really change your voice, you rapped as the woman in your own voice, as well as yourself / the male perspective. So why did you do it that way creatively?
So Him and Her, so we're talking about Him and Her. Yep. So on Him and Her, I think it was just me challenging my storytelling ability. Okay. Because I'm like, how can I, you know, put myself in somebody else's shoes and really tap into that emotion, even though I'm not a woman? How can I really tap into how women are feeling and how we make them feel within these relationships? And that's such a hard thing to do because we're not women, but we know how we make women feel. So it was, and you know, we felt some of the emotions that women are feeling, but maybe not to the degree that they feel it at on the daily, but it was just really tapping into how we make them feel and how sometimes we could be, you know, we could just totally overlook how we make them feel. So really tapping into that and, you know, standing in that place and telling that perspective.
And then what made you kind of understand, like, when you do rap from the woman's perspective, talking about like her wondering or questioning is she fit for marriage and how Distress had the miscarriage and all these different things that I don't think a lot of times, especially in rap, that doesn't get explored as much because it's all about the dude and that we've gotten away from that, I think. Not totally, of course, because there's still other artists that do it, but I thought your approach was refreshing in that it really gave the female perspective in an honest way and something that is meaningful.
Right. You know, it's just, like I said, just going back to thinking how that can be overlooked, not only in music, but just like on an everyday basis. Right. You know, and making them, because there's women that are actually going through this and, you know, that can identify with it and acknowledging it for them, I think it goes a long way. Because it's a woman that might be going through that might feel like nobody cares about her, or, you know, she's going through her situation. And sometimes these things can lead to depression, and depression, you already know, depression can lead to other things. Right. You know, so it was just me acknowledging that and letting women know, like, okay, you know, and that the crazy part is I've made women feel like that, like, you know.
What you address in the first part of the song.
Exactly. And just really me tapping into my ways as, like, my flaws and me treating women how I've treated some women in the past, and because that's the thing, I've been on both sides of the spectrum. I've treated women bad. I've been treated bad. You know, I've treated women good. You know, women have treated me good. So it was just really acknowledging or letting women know that, okay, I'm truly acknowledging how you feel, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's an important process and something that is worth exploring, because I think part of the reason why I think people have such a negative reaction to a lot of the current rap is that they don't feel a personal connection to it, because a lot of it, not all of it of course, but a lot of it, especially the stuff that's more promoted, I think on the heavier level, is much more surface, or people want to criticize it for that, or for the mumble rap, or whatever people want to say. But I think that's why it was important for me to bring you in, because I think you're showing that the type of rap that people say they want to listen to is still being created. Yeah. And you're right here. So we got to we got to put the light on that and show that, the music is here. And it also, back to the vulnerability and examining our shortcomings and our flaws, is that's something that you do on the song, because you're talking about the mistakes you made, or some of the ways that you treated a woman that weren't right. And as we're talking about all these things, one of my favorite beats on the project is Mando. And I think it's also important, we're talking about all this stuff, but the production in general is very, not only, in my opinion, good, but it's not soft at all. It's like very drum driven and very percussive, and has a lot of edge to it. Yeah. It's not soft, it's not dreamy or flowery or anything. This is like harder edged music. So with Mando, which is, much more just like a braggadocio type of song. Yeah. How did you find that type of beat appealing to you, that is so gruff and aggressive?
Just aggressive, yeah. I was actually with the producer when we made that. I was in Atlanta. Okay. By the way, the majority of Nana ZP and Save Yourself was produced by a guy named Anthem from Atlanta. Well, he's from Alabama by way of he lives in Atlanta by way of Alabama. Okay. So yeah, I took a trip to Atlanta. I was like, yo, I need to, and this was I want to say some early 2017. I was like, I actually want to get in, like, for my first project, I actually want to get in with the producer and make everything from scratch and just like build it up. So,
and how did you meet him?
I've known him for like 8. It's crazy because that was the first time I ever met him. But before that, I knew him for like 7 years just on the internet. Like we would just talk sports. We would just shoot the shit on the internet,
And what, like, you found him on Twitter? Like, how'd you guys?
Yeah, on Twitter. Okay. On Twitter, a mutual friend years ago. I want to say back in like 2009. Like, linked us up. Like when I first got on Twitter. Okay. Like when everybody first got on Twitter,
Except me, I was a little late to the game.
Oh shit.
I'm a little late to the social media world.
Yeah.
I'm here now.
You here now? Yeah. So yeah, we just linked up. I went to Atlanta, and we had the majority of the tracks done, and I was like, I want to bring out the other side of me, because we all like to. I was like, I'm a fan of like not only rap, but I'm a fan of like a lot of the braggadocio stuff, like Pusha T or Jay-Z. I'm a fan of that side as well. I grew up listening to like the Rough Rider tapes and the Rockefeller stuff, and I was just like, yo, I want something that, give me something that just straight up that Pusha T or Jay-Z would rap on. Like, and
so had you been to Atlanta before?
No, that was my first time.
And then in general, had you traveled a lot, or you had basically just stayed in LA? Or?
Sort of, kind of. I was like moving around, but not that much. For the most part, I was in LA. That was the first time I really like not only travel, but like travel for music and to do music, and it was the best decision I think I ever made, because not only did I get out of my comfort zone, I think I was like really able to like make something very organic and be hands-on and like up front and center, on top of meeting the person that's creating these vibes with me, you know. I think that's very important because we in an age where everything could just be sent. You don't really got to be in the studio with, you know, the person that you're creating the music with. So I think just for chemistry purposes, it was important to me, and I made that decision, you know, by myself. I was just like, yo, what am I doing? I want to go out and make this music with this dude. I'm about to pack my bags, go to Atlanta for 2 weeks, and then I came back. So, yeah.
And was there any discussion of him coming out here, or you were like, yo, I'm going to him for, like, what was the reason for doing it that way?
Yeah, I was just like, yo, I'm going out there, like, you know, like, don't worry, like, I'm going to make the sacrifice if, you know, about, you know, spending money on a plane ticket and going out there. I already have friends out there, so I was like, you know, having a place to stay is nothing. On top of that, I get the experience, and it was during A3C, so I got to, you know, do other things, and Thurs had party in my living room, you know, during that time at A3C, and he was having it at Stankonia Studio. So I was like, I'm definitely not gonna miss this.
Right.
I'm gonna go to Atlanta, make this, you know, get work done, have fun, and I got the full Atlanta experience. Atlanta probably is the only other place that I would like consider living in as of now, outside of Los Angeles and Ghana.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how often have you gone to Ghana?
I went one time. I want to go back. I went when I was 15.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was a pretty crazy experience because that was the first time I had met my grandmother and also my like other cousins and things of that nature. Because for the most part, a lot of them are split between Ghana and London.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why did your family move to London?
Well, that's where it's crazy. London is like. It's like right there by Ghana. Like I want to say like 8 hours off from the coast of, because Ghana's right there at the edge. So
on the west coast of Africa.
Yeah, exactly.
The northern west coast.
The northern west coast, exactly. So
it's a big coast.
It is. It has a huge Ghanaian and Nigerian culture. Mm-hmm. So if you're, you know, like how New Zealand has big Polynesian culture, like.
Yeah, when I've been to Europe, I've mainly met Nigerians.
Yeah.
And I've been in Europe a few times.
Yeah.
Every time it's like whenever we meet people, they're like, "Oh, I'm Nigerian." Like every time, without a fail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's it's always interesting, and I think too, it just speaks to in the United States. A lot of times we forget not only there's the rest of the world, but that the United States is not the only place people go to. Like people around the world move to other countries too, not just here.
That's a fact.
You know,
other places exist.
Yes, lots of them. And I need to get more.
Yeah, man. I encourage everybody to go to Ghana too. It was so beautiful, man.
What city is your family from?
They're from Accra.
Okay.
So they're from the capital.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yep, that's the capital.
That's a big one.
That's the big one. Yep. Ghana.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you went, what did you learn about yourself?
I just learned to be comfortable in other spaces.
Okay.
You know, because that was the first time I traveled on a plane. You know, and I didn't.
15.
Yeah, that was the first time I ever had traveled on a plane, and traveling outside the country. That's like going 0 to 100.
Yeah, really. And that's not a short flight either.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it was like 20 hours.
Did you fly to London first and then go?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we flew to London and then we flew there. So London was like the layover, and then we flew to Ghana from there. But it was a long flight. It was a long flight. So in total, flight hours was like 40 hours. You know. Right. So it was a beautiful experience. I got to really like see. My grandmother still lives there to this day. So I got to see. You know, how she was living, and she's living pretty decent, especially compared to how other people are living out there. So I got to see, you know, Ghana, you know, on different aspects. And my dad just came back like last week. My brother just went for the first time in October. Yeah, so I want to go back for sure sometime this year, maybe later this year.
So then we jumped right into your music a lot, but then what are your first memories, or what made you get into rap?
Just honestly, after I knew I wasn't going to the NBA, I was like, man, I need to do something with my life because everybody was either dying or going to jail. And this was when I was going to D.O.C high school, and you seen the lifestyle of how these kids were living. Like I was seeing kids bring AK-47s to school, broken down, bringing them in a locker, like, you know, and I was hanging with them. You know, a lot of my best friend, you know, he was out running the streets, and this was my best friend. So I was like, you know, if somebody has a problem with him, they got a problem with me.
Right. You
know, and that's how it was for me. So, you know, I'm seeing kids like bring guns to school, bringing drugs to school, and you know, I never gangbanged out a day in my life, but I kind of, you know, got in trouble just doing stupid stuff. So I was like, yo, I need to figure out what it is that I'm gonna like do with myself. Like just forcing myself to. I knew after high school, my parents wanted me to go to college. They wanted me to go to university, and I tried it. It was nothing that I was really passionate about, you know, in school. So I was just like, I need to figure out how I'm gonna, you know, make something of myself. And I've always just liked writing. Okay. I always liked writing, you know, just my thoughts, like what it was that I wanted to do, like just even if it was writing a goal or writing a plan. And you know, I'm a big planner, so I always used to just write. And when I was younger, I knew I had the gift of memorizing things, because like I said, my sister, she had the like the Rough Riders Volume 1, Volume 2 tapes. Okay. You know, and I would listen to them, and I would write down what DMX was saying, write down what Dragon was saying, write down what Jay-Z was saying, and I would memorize it, go to school, and act like they were my lyrics. You know, I was like, and people were like, oh, dang, he could rap, you know. But as I got older, I had to write my own shit down and, you know, put these words together and do it in a clever way. And I'm gonna be real, when the documentary came out, okay, I was like, yo, I wanna be a rapper for sure. Like, this is what I want to do. Like, Game really was an inspiration to me when he first came out. And I used to sound, people always used to tell me like, yo, you sound like Game. You sound like Game. Like around 2005, I would say.
So what was different about the Game versus the Rough Riders and Jay-Z?
Because it was more tangible. I could identify him being from this side. You know, Game was from Compton, but the lifestyle, like I said, the people around me were living that lifestyle. So the things that he was saying, I could be like, oh shoot. Like he would say like Cedar Block, or like my girl's from Grape Street, and I'm like, that's down the street, rather than Marcy Projects. You know, and he could rap, to me, honestly, just as good as anybody on the East Coast at that time. I was like, yo, like this is a bridge and a gap.
Yeah, I think to your point, I think Game is extremely underrated, even in rap history, but I think especially in 2015 up to 2019, I think people, because of whatever hangups they have about Game, they really overlook the fact that so much of his music, and of course he's released hundreds of songs, but so much of his music is so good. It's so good.
Classic. Honestly, if it weren't for Game, and I'm gonna just be straight up, we wouldn't have the resurgence of the West Coast that we had, because before Game, like what was going on out here?
Yeah, I mean, I talk about that in my book.
In the book, exactly.
The history of gangster rap. That before Game came, we had the deaths of Biggie and Tupac in '96 and '97, and then the labels kind of turned their back on the West Coast gangster rap, and then we had success, but people that had been out, like Snoop and the East Siders with Snoop and Xzibit and Dr. Dre and Mac 10, but we didn't have new artists coming out.
Exactly.
And then when Game came out, he changed that, and to your point, ushered in this whole wave and got the interest back to gangster rap on the West Coast, but really West Coast period. And I think people really appreciate and undervalue that for what it did, and really breathe life and set the stage, as we had talked about before, like on the Red album with having, Kendrick on there. Yeah. It's just Kendrick, of course, had already been out at the time, but Game gave him that huge stamp and to set it off at the top of the album on the Red album.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal. And then, a lot of Game's other stuff like 1992 is super overlooked and underappreciated. But that's Game.
That's a fact. I'm gonna be real, like, and like how you said with the Red album, to me that was like Game handing Kendrick the torch, because Game, and it's crazy because I would have never knew about Kendrick if it wasn't for Game. Before the Red album, this was like 2007 when he was going by K-Dot, when Game dropped You Know What It Is Volume 4, the mixtape, and he had like a lot, it was like he had like a lot of guys that nobody knew about on the West Coast, like Dub, who goes by his name Quincy White now,
right?
Or J-Rock,
D-U-B-B.
Exactly, and giving those TDE guys an early look on these tapes,
absolutely,
and just really giving that platform to them, and me listening like, okay, like early like 2007. So Game was what I think really inspired me to really want to like pursue music, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And that's it's really impressive, and that I think ties in nicely to the last song on Nana's EP, the No Way Out, because you talk about people thinking they don't have a way out, but then you're also saying at the same time trying to figure out how to get out.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people kind of look at things a lot of times only from the negative side of things.
Yep.
And one thing throughout your music I think that you do a good job of is, of course, you identify the problems, but then you also a lot of the time try to offer solutions. And No Way Out does that as well. So what gives you that perspective to look at things from a more well-rounded approach?
Because, bad times don't last forever. Things get bad, but how long is the rain gonna be, gonna come down? The sun has to come out at some point, right? And that's how it is. Like that's what life is. Life is a roller coaster. So just if you give people bad, it's not real. It's not reality. If you give people good, it's not real, because it's not reality. Things aren't always gonna be bad, but things aren't always gonna be good. So it's just giving people both sides of the spectrum, because things can get bad, but things always turn around. Like no matter how like much BS you're going through at the time, things always turn around. Even if your mind ain't there, or if you're not proactively, things it's just the way of life. Right. We always find ourselves in a better situation, and I think that's because you have somebody looking over you that is working in your life, to make things better. So
then the Nana's EP came out. I was among the people that really liked it.
Yeah.
And you got, some good attention and momentum with that. So what did you find out about yourself after it was released and you started getting some feedback?
I found out, that's a really good question. I became more comfortable in my voice, a lot more comfortable, because No Way Out, I recorded that and I'm not even joking, probably like 45 times.
Wow. Okay.
One time I recorded it and I thought I had it, and I did have it, all like the power in the area went out and I didn't save the session, and I was just like, damn, you know what? Me and my engineer just left mad because he got tired of sitting there for 3 hours straight, and I had got tired of trying to be comfortable in my voice and wonder, are people gonna like me singing or not? So after it came out and people were like, yo, that's you? Like no, that's really you?
Right.
And I was just like, okay, all right, I think I could explore more of this side and using my voice, to complement the beat more in this manner, So that's one thing that I learned about myself, is that I learned to just be comfortable. Just be comfortable. Don't even think of what other people might think about how you make your art. Just be comfortable, and even if it sounds, to at the time like it may not work. Just keep trying it out. Try different things, like, because you never know, you know, how people are going to be receptive of it. Like, art is art, you know. It's just, the beat is, to me, is just one blank canvas,
right?
You know, and you know, just try different things, and that's what I learned, to like just really try different things.
So it seems like the insecurity you had battled with growing up here, being first generation American, but then also not being sure of how to approach making music.
Yeah.
That by the time you got to Save Yourself, you still include some of that discussion, but it seems like as a person, maybe, is it accurate to say that you were a lot more confident in what you were doing and you felt stronger about making the music?
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Like this one, I just kind of walked into it. I walked into it with an open mind. Like I said, from what I learned on the first project, and just being more open and not really thinking about how it's going to be received, but really putting everything into it, and just being confident within myself and who I am. You know, I think I mastered the art of knowing who I am on the first one.
Okay.
So walking into the second one, I think I had more challenges to take on. So I mastered the art of knowing myself on the first one. So the second one, I'm like, okay, now that I got that down pat, let me take on these new challenges. And I think the new challenge for me on this one was more so like exploring different sounds.
Okay.
You know, and, you know, not really going with the traditional rap sound. I think, like, you know, you have the first track, which sounds very acoustic.
Right.
You know, it has a very acoustic vibe.
And as we're getting to Heaven and Hennessy, let's make sure everybody, you know, Nana's Nana, and it's Save Yourself is the project we're talking about now.
Yes,
so
sir.
You can find that on all your streaming platforms. But speaking to the different sonics of Heaven and Hennessy, that was the one I told you a long time ago that reminded me of the city from the game, from the Red
exactly,
album
yep.
with Kendrick Lamar.
Yep.
Because of how it starts,
Yep.
and the percussion doesn't really kick in till like a minute into the song, and all these other things. So I know you'd said you recorded the first project, Nana's EP, in Atlanta. How and where did Save Yourself get created?
So that's the thing, like how you said, I was so comfortable on this one to where me and the producer, he was in Atlanta, I was out here. But it sounds like we were together. It sounds like we were more together on this one than the first one, to be honest, because of the chemistry that we had already established previously.
Okay.
So, but we still built everything from scratch through FaceTime calls and through text messages. And, you know, we would get on the phone like every night to perfect what it was that we were trying to convey to the listener. You know, within every song and within every emotion, I would do a voice recording and I would send it to him and he would build around that, you know, and we probably made like demo after demo after demo. And it wasn't much that didn't make this project, because I had in mind how many songs I wanted to do. It was probably like maybe 2 or 3 songs that didn't make the project, but I already had in mind what I wanted to do. The emotion that I was trying to convey, the message that I was trying to get across, and I wanted every song to truly complement the message and what I was trying to get across to the listener, every song. So, yeah, I think this one I was very, very solid and comfortable with what I had learned and who I've become up until this point.
And then the second song, Kings Boulevard 2, has one of my I think one of my favorite, but I also think very powerful passages where you kind of restate it in a slightly different way, but you talk about how the rappers talk about what they do, but then they really haven't done it.
Yeah.
And then the kids kind of go and do it because they think that's the lifestyle, but then they really didn't do it, whether they're black, white, or whatever.
Yeah.
So for you, how have you seen what, especially the street artists or the gangster rappers or the reality rappers, what they talk about impact people when you understand that what they are rapping about they didn't necessarily do?
I feel like it's crazy because like I've heard rappers come out and say like, nah, I just did that or I just said that because it's entertainment. But you have kids that are looking up to these people as heroes, and like, you know, they're like, okay, dang, if he's doing it, if he's saying that he's doing it, I'm gonna do it too, because I want to be just like this guy. And these guys like, yo, no, I'm not really doing these drugs. And I'm like, dang, that's misleading as shit. That's hella misleading.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like, you know, you telling somebody that you like, you know, you jumped off this bridge and survived, and you got kids jumping off the bridge and dying. You know what I'm saying? Like, figuratively speaking. Right. I mean, I guess it kind of could be, you know, literal as well, but it's just kind of like, you know, you misleading people, and you kind of knowingly using your influence for bad, in a sense, because you know it's doing damage. You know these kids are listening, but you know you still choose to, you know, I guess lie. And I guess it's entertainment, whatever. But
well, that's one of the things that I go through waves of as a rap fan, is like, as a kid, I didn't understand as much the entertainment portion of it. I thought it was much more actually depicting reality all the time, which obviously is not the case. But the challenge is, I think, rappers in particular, more than any other type of artists, always rely on, well, I'm real and I'm authentic. Yeah. But then at times, then they want to say, well, I'm just an entertainer. But you can't, in my opinion, 75 out of 100 times tell me that everything you say is real and it's reality and all this. But then when it's uncomfortable, then you're like, oh, well, you know, I made that up, or that's not true, or I'm just a rapper.
Yeah, it's only entertainment. Like, yeah, nah. You know, I don't know. I just think, you know, it's part of, I don't know, people call me crazy, whatever. I just think it's part of an agenda. That's, you know, whatever agenda that person's pushing, or that company's trying to get that person to push is pushing, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. But you know, I just think that, like I said, my whole purpose in just being really true to what it is that I'm doing is to, like, speak the truth into what it is that I'm talking about, and what it is that I've gone through, or what it is that I'm going through, or what it is that I've done, or what I haven't done. You know, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I've sold drugs. I've never sold drugs a day in my life. Right. You know.
And you say that in your song.
Exactly. You know. And
multiple times.
Exactly. And I just think that's, you know, years ago, I feel like people would have looked at that as corny, even if they haven't done it. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if they haven't done it, knowing they haven't done it, but, you know, like, yo, he's saying he's never sold drugs. That's corny. That's not the end. That's not, who does this guy think he is? That's not what you're supposed to say. You know what I'm saying? But I think like I said, I don't care what anybody has to say about me, because at the end of the day, when I look in the mirror, I know that I'm going to be able to sleep at night. A lot of these guys can't sleep at night because they lying, misleading people, you know, and sometimes it comes out. You know what I'm saying? You see stories about people and the lives that they telling you they live, and, you know, how they, you know, talking about they grew up this way, and, you know, they went to, you know, private schools and stuff like that, and it's just misleading. It's just like, yo, and that's one thing I liked about Biggie, is that I remember something that he said. He was like, yo, if I was working at Burger King, I would rap about my life at Burger King. Like, I would have gave y'all that experience, like, about how I flipping burgers. I would told y'all how I was good at flipping burgers, but this is the life that I live, and this is what I'm speaking about, because this is what I've gone through, you know, so.
All right. Well, in the Save Yourself, as the song I was alluding to as potentially the companion piece to Him and Her, is the You and I song. Yeah. So I wanted you to explain, well, one, do you look at it as that, and is it that, in your opinion?
It definitely is that, and I wrote it as a companion piece. So him and her, or You and I. Well, so Him and Her was the guy abandoning the woman, right? And, you know, people were like, okay, what happened? So on You and I wrote it from the perspective of me being the guy. So Him and Her was somebody else's relationship. You and I is me and that girl that was hurt, and picking up those pieces from where the guy that did her wrong, left off at, and me having to deal with this woman that's hurt and having to deal with that hurt and having to deal with just
the pain that she's endured.
Yeah, and building her back up and letting her know that you are worth it. You are beautiful. You are, a queen inside and on the outside, and, you don't have to be insecure about, your flaws, because this is how God made you.
Right.
So.
And then why did you think that was important to give that to a woman in a song like that?
Because, like I said, it was like giving a solution. So part one, him and her was telling a lot of the problems, and You and I was me giving that solution. So that was a solution song. That was me saying, okay, you went through all of this stuff, but I know it's hard to get past it, but be confident in who you are, and get past it, because at the end of the day, you are who you are. You're a queen. You're beautiful. That guy that was dealing with you obviously didn't know who or what he had in his possession. Right. And, just be comfortable, just be confident, and just know that you're better than your last situation.
Right.
So.
And then on a much different way, the Out My Mind kind of takes a similar approach in the sense that you have to, despite all the negativity and frustration and difficulty that life can throw at you and your family and your career and all these things, that you have to figure a way to get out, but also to persevere.
Yeah.
And that's clearly a recurring theme in your music.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I think this one was more personal than, I would say this was a more deeper version of No Way Out for me, because it was echoing into me in my life and the things that I was going through, and the choices that I was making and that I could have made, choices that I was juggling with at the time, and people telling me like, yo, just give it up, and me making a conscious decision not to, and it was telling about how my mom was dealing with high blood pressure in and out the hospital and things of that nature, and how I was dealt these cards, and how it wasn't really designed for me to just be successful in where I'm growing up at because of all of these influences, but I have to persevere through that and be stronger than my environment and be stronger than what's around me, and what it's easier to do bad than it is to do good.
Right.
So I had to persevere through that. So that song is just me making, and it's crazy because when I played that song for a friend of mine before the EP came out, and they broke down and cried before me, and I was like, whoa, shit. And then a week before the show, I played it for another friend of mine and got the same reaction, and I was like, okay. And I think I was more so happy in knowing that it was affecting other people, and my story, did that to other people, because they're going through the same shit. They're struggling as well. They're struggling, whatever they're struggling with, I don't know. But it was an echo into their lives and the things that they're going through, and how they have to make whatever decision it is that they're making, and to push forward, push through that, So I think I got more satisfaction in knowing that it did, it touched other people than it just being therapy for me and just writing my life.
Well, I think to me, it would be because a lot of people go through a lot of struggle, and they often, especially men in American society, and I do want to ask you about how it is from what you understand in Ghana, but at least in America, there's not a lot of room, and I would imagine from what I see, it's even more pronounced with black men. There's not a lot of room for men to show their vulnerability or their frustration or their anger in a comfortable way. Mm-hmm. And, I know that's, unfortunate, because everybody, as we've been discussing now, everybody has their own problems and challenges and things that they need to deal with personally, professionally, what have you. And, that's again, another thing that I've enjoyed about the 2 projects you put out so far, Nana's EP and Save Yourself, is that you explore a lot of these things in my opinion, a powerful and a good way. And then on the title track, the last track of Save Yourself, you also have, that's the one that does feature another vocalist.
Yeah.
And it's also singing.
Yep.
So who is Black Soul and why and how did he end up on the song?
Black Soul is a talented vocalist from Tacoma, Washington. He actually lives in Los Angeles now. He actually does a lot of work with Thurs and Dr. Dre. And he's a phenomenal talent, and I couldn't do what he does. That's the thing. I'm comfortable now with stretching my voice, but I can't do what he does. And I was like, I need somebody to be able to really sing. Like, I need a singer to and not just a singer, but somebody that could like hit somebody right in this, and ironically speaking, whose voice could hit somebody right in their soul, like to where you feel it, you know. And that song really warranted that because of the story that I was telling. And I feel like that was the icing. Man, I've gotten so many people that asked me about who Black Soul was, and that makes me happy, because I'm like, okay, you know, I feel like him being as talented as he is, I take just music in general like extremely serious, and I really only like to align myself with people that take it as serious as I do. And with him bringing that emotion and just bringing his talent and what he brings to the table, and him being able to do that, I feel like that was like, he did that just by the response that I got from other people. Like, a lot of people ask me like, yo, who is this dude? Who is this dude? Who is this dude? You know, so and I knew that he would do that because I'm a fan of like all of his work. He actually worked on the project before last for Pac, that was Oxnard. He wrote one of the songs on there with Thurs, Mansa Musa. Gotcha. So yeah, I knew what he would bring to the table. I knew the type of emotion that he would evoke when he digs as deep as he digs and sings. And I knew that it would complement the stories that I was telling. And I didn't tell him what to write. I just said, yo, here's the record, man. If you could just speak something that's relatable to what I'm saying, you know, and do what you do. And he did that. I was like, yo, this is perfect.
Right. Well, there it is, man. It's been great talking with you, Nana, and congratulations on your success, man.
Thank
and
you.
I know you got a lot of other things going on. So what, to the people that are now interested in you, and even those that have already been following you, what else are you working on, or what should people be looking out for?
Man, I'm working on a lot. I'm actually I'm gonna be doing like a series of shows in Los Angeles for the summer. You actually came to my last show.
Yes.
Thank you so much, man.
It was great.
Man, thank you.
Highly recommended.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm setting up some shows like in New York. I just came back from New York. It was a wonderful experience. Not a fan of the transit, but I do love the food. Do love the late, how the city never sleeps. I love New York. So I'm working on shows out there. And I'm working on some new music that I'm going to be dropping in the summertime. So,
perfect, man.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yes, sir.
Well, everybody, this is Nana. Please be sure to stream, like, follow, support him at his events. He's got some merch as well. And Nana, tell everybody again how they can find you on social media.
You can find me on social media. My Instagram is NanaIsKing, NanaIsKing. Twitter, the same thing with an underscore at the end. SoundCloud, Nana is King. You can find me on all streaming platform services by just searching up Nana, Save Yourself, or Nana's EP. And everything is right there.
Well, there it is, y'all. That's another episode of the Soren Baker Show. We appreciate you guys listening, subscribing, sharing, commenting. whether you're doing so on the Digital Soapbox Network, on our many platforms there, or on Unique Access on YouTube. I'm Soren Baker. We'll catch y'all next time on The Soren Baker Show.